Next up, we have, and I don't see him right now, but I know he's here. Oh, there we go. We have Tim Vereecke, and he works for Akamai, and he's going to talk about the missing link. And I don't think he's talking about Homo habilis.
Thank you. Hello, nice being here. The topic of this conference is collaboration. Now, what is the opposite of collaboration? Fighting. Fighting. And whenever two countries are about to fight, UNO comes to the rescue. Whenever my two noisy daughters start fighting, I say, hey, let's play UNO, and we fix it. Now, whenever we are having performance issues and some annoying colleagues are trying to fight you, then UNO will also come to the rescue. Now, it's all about using your brains and not just the words. So, what does UNO stand for? And sorry, it's another three-letter acronym. It stands for Unattributed Navigation Overhead. What does that mean? It's basically everything you know about time to first byte. Time to first byte basically minus everything you know. As an example, what is time to first byte? It's DNS, TCP, SSL handshake, and then you have the waiting time. So if your RUM tool measures this, that's basically the attributed things. Like, oh, if DNS increases, your time to first byte increases. You'll know why. Now, the portion which is now on the right-hand side is what I call unattributed. You don't know what it is. Now, we are all smart people in here. What is missing? Redirects, yes, thank you. What else is missing? Service worker startup, yes, but also first the cache lookup and service worker startup. And the last bit, what is missing? Sorry? No. Oh, no. If you look closely at the navigation timing graph earlier on, you will actually see that between all those steps, there are little gaps. Now, if you add all those gaps, you come to unattributed navigation overhead. Now, you might say, hey, Tim, what is that? If you look at my website, so next to my day job at Akamai, I also run the largest scale modeling website in the world. It's also the fastest scale modeling website in the world. And if I measure, in this case, using Ample's RUM, I measure the unattributed overhead, 2 milliseconds. That can basically be some rounding errors, basically nothing to worry about. If you look at the P75, 90 milliseconds, oh, that's okay. A little bit higher, around 100 milliseconds. Now, this is not that big. Now, let's look at one of my customers. They had some challenges a year ago, and this was their time to first byte. And time to first byte, as you know, has a big impact on LCP. And if time to first byte is slow, LCP is slow, and that's very bad. And they're using a CDN, and for months and months and months, they tried to fix their time to first byte. And the discussions were really brutal. There were fights between the database team, between the server team, between the CDN team. Basically, even the RUM tool was somehow at some point in time questioned. Even Crux was questioned because everybody said, everything looks fine. Everything looks normal. It's not my problem. And what was strange, each time when the traffic went up, performance degraded. Time to first byte went up. And when that happens and you're on a CDN, it's like, oh, can the CDN handle our load? Maybe not. Maybe there is users from Australia being mapped to Japan, whatever. Plenty of escalations, and they were really, really brutal. At some point in time, I came in and said, hey, let's talk about UNO. So we looked, P10, 8 milliseconds, neglectable. P75, 421 milliseconds. Now, if you know P7, 470 milliseconds, if you remove that from your LCP, I think a lot of people would be happy. Now, let's look at those values. 4 seconds, 6 seconds, whatever. So, what was the problem? All those teams were fighting for these 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 3 seconds, and everybody was looking at, in this case, Akamai, like, hey, why are you so slow? And here is, and this is for Gustav, ads. This is what happens when you click on an ad somewhere on a page. And you see, in this case, you see the redirect 302, another redirect, and in this case it takes 1222 milliseconds. If you measure this in RAM, you would say, hey, this is a redirect, it should be captured as a redirect. Now, what is the problem? It's not captured as a redirect. Why not? Because it's coming from other domains. And for privacy reasons, redirect is basically zero. From a RAM perspective, it does not exist. So if you look at your redirect data, oh, zero, no problem at all. So everybody was looking DNS, TCP, TLS. They even changed their DNS provider at some point in time because they thought that was the issue. Now, what we did, on top of that, we actually looked at the UTM campaign, and in their case, that indicated which of the ad servers they were using, or so they had many campaigns running on different websites, and they're using different ad servers. And what they noted that based on the source, let's say publisher A, publisher B, publisher C, that unattributed navigation overhead was completely different. At the top, and that's really like 2.5, 5 seconds, and once they figured it out, you could actually see it when you clicked. You saw the redirects even on very fast connections. So what did they do here to fix this? They stopped publishing on server A, because that saved them 2.5, 500,000 milliseconds. Luckily, we also worked together with the ad server. We basically told them, hey, increase your DNS TTL. Hey, why don't you use TLS 1.3 instead of TLS 1.2? And it was still on the higher end, but it was reduced. And then it was doing all those things, they were back in a normal state. Now, what do I want to say with this? Is next time you're about to kill a colleague on stage like Robin did last year, or any other of your preferred weapons, stop doing that. Stop fighting with your colleagues, and basically zen, relax, think about UNO, because likely the problem you're seeing is UNO. One last thing. What is the UNO, or what is UNO for crux? What is the value of UNO for crux? The complete time to first byte. Because if in crux you see 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or 200 milliseconds, you have 000 clue if it was DNS, if it was TCP, if it was a CDN, it was the origin. So from a crux perspective, UNO corresponds to time to first byte. It also means that UNO depends on your RAM provider, because if your RAM provider, for example, doesn't capture service worker startup time, and you have a service worker, then that's also part of UNO. So that basically brings me to the end of my session. And I don't know if I didn't even look at Bas if I was on time or not. Perfect. So. Excellent, excellent. So thank you very much for your time. And if there are any questions, feel free to have a drink with me after at the bar. Thank you.